My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jobs, a partner for those that are ready to take their life changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome to today's conversation. Welcome back to the world's best kept secret podcast. You could have been in a million other places. You could have been on one of the million podcasts out there. You chose to be here. And so I wanted to, first of all, really honor you and celebrate you for trusting to be on this podcast. And I hope that this will be as insightful as I hope it will be. Today with me is Heather, and Heather has an amazing angle on holistic health. We're going to be talking about how to escape from society expectations and live a life of calm, a life of less overwhelm, a life of peace, a life of choice, like choosing the life that you want to choose. We're going to be talking about slowing down. We're going to talk about mindfulness. We're going to talk about how to have less overwhelm in life on a whole. We're going to talk about the nervous system and all of the things that can happen when you're in control of your own nervous system. Today is a good day. I feel super excited about our guest today. And our guest today is Heather. Heather, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast. I'm really excited that you're here today.
Thanks, Prima. Oh my gosh, that was an amazing introduction. Thank you.
I wanted to introduce you now. Now I feel like I don't know what to say. I wanted to read her bio so we could all understand where she's coming from, how amazing her work is, what appreciates her work, and all of those things.
Right.
So Heather has a dedication to holistic health, and this helps guide transformation in her clients. Lisa's example, Lisa's work started from her own life where she had to escape like the career and focus on her health. And Heather, now from the School of Hard Knocks, really understands how important it is in your midlife to take care of yourself and escape from kind of what the society expects you to do. She does have a framework, and that framework is called the Thriving Life. What that does is it helps overwhelmed achievers create a new roadmap to their life they want and desire. Either is the host of Back to Me podcast, which is a podcast that helps you or guides you on the wellness way, like how to begin your wellness journey. I want to know it all, and I am going to ask it all. Before we started, Heather said she had just woken up and she feels like she's in her divine. And so now it's time to get those messages from the channel. Are you excited? Pull a stool, get closer, and if this is your work, if you realize, oh my God, I know someone that needs to hear this, in the end, I'll be challenging you to share this with one woman in her midlife who wants a different chapter of her life today. A woman who's done, lived for everybody else, and they're like, you know what, I'm really done. Like, this is now my life. A woman who's been in their 40s, 50s, and they're like, so what do I want in the next 30 or 40? Life can happen to you. You can live everyone's life but yours. And today we're giving permission to every woman in her mid-age to kind of go, yeah, you know what? I've done everything for everyone, and now it's my time to live my life. I believe this is the work Heather does. But we will soon find out because I have a PhD in saying things people don't do. Heather.
Yes.
Where should we begin? Why don't we begin with like a story of how you got started in all this? I'd love to hear it.
Goodness. Yes. So I was a chartered accountant and I was a senior finance director when I did what you were supposed to do. went to university, I got the house, I got the car, I got the pets, I got the big house in the suburbs. And um, I was never, I didn't really fit the idea of what an accountant should be. I was always I was good at my job because kept getting promoted, but I never really totally felt like that was where I fit. And one day I was in my office and I was trying to balance this budget, and it was in the billions of dollars. And the radio was on behind me. And I heard that the owner of the company, that he was like he was, one of the richest people in the world. And I just thought, this is crap. Why am I trying to balance this budget to look for an extra $1 million? This guy already has enough money. And it was like, I kind of thought, why am I killing myself for someone who doesn't really need this, you know? And at that time, I was taking yoga after work because I was really stressed out. I was working lots of hours, and I would spend 12 hours a day at a desk, and then I would rush to yoga to relax. And one day I was driving along, and I was trying to get to yoga on time. And I drove through a red light, but I didn't know I was driving through this red light. I was driving along, and there was a pedestrian in front of me. And I'm like, what the heck? What are you doing in the middle of the road? Like, I was so angry with this pedestrian. And I just looked up. I was like, oh my God, I was driving through a red light. I had no idea. I was so disconnected and not paying attention. And I'm amazed I didn't get hit by a car. I mean, I fully drove through a red light. And I just realized, like, that was a big realization that I I really needed to change something. I mean, the other one was a tweak. The radio idea was like, this isn't your right place. This was like, you really need to change something. So it woke me up. It definitely woke me up, and I started to really pay attention to what was going on around me, what was making me unhappy, what was making me happy, what was working, what wasn't working. And um, I made a giant decision, and I quit my job, and I actually got divorced at the same time. I quit my job and got divorced and sold my house, and I went traveling. Now that's not for everyone to make that big giant change, because even small changes, when you realize, you're like, oh, this isn't working. Some people think this is the way life is supposed to be. Oh, I'm a grown up now. I'm not supposed to really be happy. I think that's a load of crap. You're always supposed to be happy. So, but you can't make a change until you realize, first, that you're not happy. And then second, you start paying attention to what's going on around you, to realize the things that are kind of sucking the life out of you. I was working 12 hours a day. It was sucking the life out of me. And I can remember having a conversation with one of my colleagues, because I was due for another promotion right before I left. And I just said to her, I don't want to trade more of my life for more income at this point. I thought, like, a promotion, yes, it means more income, more prestige, but it just meant I was going to have to work even harder. I'm like, I don't want to work harder. I want to actually have some fun and enjoy myself. So that's why I made the big decision to just, like, throw it all out and move on and find something different, which is how I went into wellness. I mean, I had been taking yoga after work to de-stress. So I went more into yoga. I went to India for a few months. I started teaching yoga. And then I said, oh, this is pretty exciting. I want more knowledge. So I became a personal trainer. I said, this is great. I want more knowledge. So I went to school for 2 years and became a massage therapist. And I thought, this is great. I'm really helping people. More knowledge, more knowledge. And I've just been studying and consuming everything wellness since then. And it's informed by my business background, because I recognize I mean, I call myself a real life coach because I recognize that not everyone can just quit their job and go traveling. I was in that position where I could make all that happen. Some people have children or families, things that are responsibilities. So I call myself a real life coach because all the solutions are going to fit into your real life without overwhelming you, so that you can make those changes that you need at the pace that works for you and start to unplug the things that are draining you. That's a long story of how I got to here, but it was a long journey.
I wanna go back and kind of unpack some of the things. So you drive through a red light and you're like,
Yeah.
what did I just do there? Like, what
Yeah.
is happening? You leave your job, you get a divorce. Okay, we need to slow down there. Those are like mega decisions. And we can't just go through that in 30 seconds. Like, not everybody can quit their job in a blink. Not everybody can, ask for divorce in a blink. It takes courage. It takes processing. It takes having to go through some stuff. So I want you to take us back and kind of take us there. The red light is kind of, I think, a moment that woke you up. Like, you know what? I don't want to live like this. But then how did you slow us down a little bit and take us through that process? Because there's a lot of women right now who've gone through 50 years of their life going through the red light and not knowing it. And the red light can look different. Being in a bad job they hate and they haven't got the courage to leave. In a marriage that probably is abusive or whatever it is they don't like, and they're like, I kind of can't leave. And so there is someone there stuck in, and the red light hasn't happened for them. Like, they haven't crossed the red light yet. So they're just there going, is this it? I don't really like my life. I don't like where this is going. I feel like I'm wasting my life. Take us there through like your thought process there and like the resistance that happens there. Take us there between you cross the red light, now boom, out of job, boom, out of a marriage you don't like, boom, into taking care of your life. Slow us down there and kind of walk us through your process, because maybe it is the reason why someone else may decide to move past something today. Take us through that.
Yeah. I mean, it will be individual for everyone. And you're right, the red light is different for everyone. Sometimes it's a crisis, like a bigger crisis. But the universe is always trying to wake you up, right? So that was a little slap in the face for me of driving through the red light, because I always saw myself as someone who is very competent and responsible and aware and, this compassionate person who's always taking care of other people. And I'm like, whoa, that was definitely out of character for what I thought I was, like my internal view of myself. So for people who feel like they have a sense that something is wrong, I mean, the first thing you really need to do is really start to pay attention to what it is. I mean, at that time, I didn't know what was wrong totally. That's why I threw everything away. Like I said, everything must go, because I was really new on this journey to awareness, and I didn't have anyone to help me. It was just all me inside my head talking to myself. So I took the tactic of throwing out everything. I even threw out the baby with the bathwater. Like, it all went. And I mean, it was the right thing for me. But I know that if I had been in a place where I could have taken some time to say, okay, what is it that doesn't feel like it's working properly? Because my job, I mean, there were aspects of it that I enjoyed, but there was a lot of it that I didn't enjoy. It was the right decision for me to leave it, because it's taken me on a totally new path that I love. But there are people who it's not necessarily their entire job that's a problem. It could be the company that they're with. I worked with a client who really enjoys what she does and is good at what she does, but she was really struggling because of the company and the environment that she was in. So we just helped her find a new place. And because she's done that, now she's started to make other changes. Because, I mean, a little jump into the framework, just briefly, the framework looks at all these different aspects of your life, knowing that they're intertwined and that when one is suffering, that it's going to affect the other. So her job was pulling down her physical health and her emotional health and her relationships. So once she changed jobs, then she started to be able to nurture these other parts of her. So for people who are stuck in whatever it is, if they just know they're unhappy, sometimes it's hard to know what it is that's making you unhappy unless you can pause. So taking some time, and I'm not saying, you have to run away for a month on a retreat or anything, but even just it's more like if you can make small changes, because small changes accumulate. So small things accumulate over time. So every day, if you sit for 5 minutes when you get up in the morning, whether you meditate or you just sit, don't open your phone, don't open your social media, don't open your computer. If you like, I like tea, I drink tea in the morning. If you like coffee, spend 5 minutes by yourself in the quiet, don't turn on the radio, and just let thoughts flow in and out of your head. And you don't have to analyze them. You don't have to label them as good or bad. You just have to give your brain space to process. And it sounds like it's crazy, but if you sit for 5 minutes every day doing absolutely nothing, then your brain starts to deliver to you ideas and things. And you can have, if you like to write things down, if you like to journal, you can just journal things that pop into your head. You don't have to do anything with them. But it'll start to coalesce. You'll start to understand how your internal works, the things that are bothering you. So maybe your partner, if the marriage, I mean, at some point, I assume the marriage was good. Is there something in the marriage that has changed, or have you changed? And if you've changed, can you have an honest conversation with your partner about, because this is what happened to me, I'm changing, I'm shifting, I'm going this way. This feels like what's drawing me. And I actually invited him to come with me. And he said no. Because he was very in his way. And I said, okay, well then I want a divorce. So like I had actually tried to have the conversation to say, I've recognized that I'm headed this way and I feel like I'm being pulled this way to make myself happier so that we can be happier. But that wasn't in his orbit. He wasn't interested in that. So when you're making those changes, what you really need to get a handle on is what you need to make you happy. Because a lot of people look to the external for what they need. So my husband needs to make me happy. My children need to make me happy. My job needs to make me happy. But really, if you can fill up your inner world so that you understand that you have the control of what makes you happy and you fill yourself with what makes you happy, then the external world doesn't throw you off as much. I mean, it's still going to throw you off a little bit when stuff happens. But if you're always looking to your external world for your what you need to satisfy you. I was listening to someone recently. I think it's someone who's going to be a guest on my podcast, and I haven't spoken with her yet. And she was talking about the fact that if you're always looking to someone else to make you happy, then you will never be happy, because you're putting your expectation of what you need onto that person, but that person doesn't necessarily know what you need. That person only knows what they can interpret, and maybe they're not in a place to give you what you need. So she was saying that you always need to be looking into your internal world of what you need and what's going to fill you up. And that takes that 5 minutes a day of quiet to start to understand the things, to start to understand how you process things, how things impact you, how you see the world. I mean, my meditation practice is now probably, well, I've been teaching yoga for 24 years.
Wow.
And so my meditation practice actually started before my yoga practice because I was just trying to find some quiet space for my brain. So my meditation practice is probably 25, 26 years old. And in the beginning, I wasn't completely consistent because, you know, when you start anything, start, stop sometimes. But now it's every single day without fail. I have quiet time for myself. And even now I discover things like it's a continual discovery of, wow, that's interesting. That's, you know, I get new revelations, new ideas come in. And I don't feel like I have to jump on all of them anymore. You know, I don't have to be in the constant doing anymore, but I can capture them and put them. I have a list of do this later so that I don't have to feel like I have to keep it in my head. And, and, you know, for people who have kids, your kids eventually grow up and move away. And that's, you know, they talk about that whole empty nest thing. It's because you haven't spent that time with yourself. The whole time you've put all of your energy into your children, which is it's almost like what's expected. You know, the mother has to give everything she has until there's nothing left, but then there's nothing left for you. And you're also demonstrating to your children that you aren't important. If you can demonstrate to your children that I am important, I care for you deeply and I'm looking after you, but I am important first. Because if I take care of myself first, I have more capacity to help you and to support you and to love you. And then if you can demonstrate that to your children, they will also live that. You know what I mean? They will recognize that they are the most important because your mothers want that for their children. They want their children to know that they're the most important, but you need to demonstrate that for them. And maybe if you start, I'm just thinking of boomerang children where, you know, they leave and come back and leave and come back. If you put boundaries in place and say, I'm super important and I'm going to take care of me first. And if you're going to move home, these are the parameters around you moving home, you know, whatever those are for you, because you don't want to end up with children always at home. You want to have some space for yourself.
Going back to the point where the red lights went off for you and you were like, nope, I am going to put my life in order. And to where you are right now, what would you change if you had to do it all over again?
I don't think I would change anything, you know. I mean, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows or any of that. I had struggles along the way, but I feel like the whole journey was kind of magical in one of those like adventure movie kind of ways. I went to India. I found a partner who understood and gets me, and we have a really interesting relationship because we were friends first, and we agreed early on that we could call each other on our bullshit. So, and not get angry and not get triggered and not get into a fight and not get defensive. So when he sees me doing certain things, he's like, you know, you're doing this. I'm like, oh, you're right, I am. Instead of getting mad and defensive. One thing I might change is I might not have had the stroke in 2021. But even that, like even the stroke was another almost red light for me. It was, because I spent 3 days in the emergency room where no one could visit me and I couldn't use my phone, like I was basically in a 3-day silent retreat. And it just brought in so much more clarity for me. I don't recommend that people take that tactic. And I resisted it at the beginning because I was like, I'm healthy. I've been taking care of myself. I've done all the things to have this great life. What do you mean I had a stroke? And I didn't believe the doctors at the time. And then I kind of paused and thought, okay, Heather, like, let's be serious. You're in the hospital. The doctors know what they're doing. And why don't you just let them take care of you? So for me, it was a big lesson on receiving. That was something I still needed to work on, receiving. I was still giving, even though I was taking care of myself and giving to myself. I wasn't, I'm a very, my mother calls me stubborn. My dad calls me pig-headed. A very strong personality, maybe. And I was still resisting letting other people help me because I was like, no, I've got to figure it out. So when you are in that position, you have to receive, like, you have to allow people to help you if that's what they're called to do. So that for me was a lesson on receiving. And it was the impetus for the whole program structure, because I did get that, like, when you sit quiet for 3 days and can't do anything, the structure of my program came in, because before that I was doing mainly business coaching. The podcast came to me because I was doing a business podcast. So I switched my whole business around to say, okay, I can help more people in a bigger way. Business is only one tiny piece of what people do. Business, job, whatever it is. It's only one tiny piece of what people are. So I need to encompass their whole being to be able to really help them. Like when I was a massage therapist, I was helping their body. But once they got up off the table, they went and did everything they always did. So their pain and tension always came back, which is why they came to see me every single month. And when I was a personal trainer, we would exercise, but then they would go and sit at their desk for 12 hours. So I was like, this is like all askew. It's not helping them move forward. It's keeping them in a place, but it's not helping them move forward. And I wanted to help people move past and step into like more happiness, more health, all of these things, rather than just keeping you going in your status quo. Does that make sense?
I know you have a framework called the Thrive. I think it's called the Thrive. Is it called the
The
Thrive?
Thriving Life Method. I actually just got my trademark recently.
Oh my God. So the
I know.
Thriving method, what does it do? What is the function of it? Why did you create it? What is it supposed to do for people?
So I created it because I recognized that, like I was just saying, I kept hearing these things on work-life balance, and everybody's trying to make their lives fit into this picture that's external to them again. Like it's external. It's like you watch those commercials of Freedom 55 and all the Viagra commercials. I always think the Viagra commercials with the people sitting on the beach holding hands, and like everything looks so epic. It's like a beer commercial. And that's an external thing people are trying to fit their life into, and it's not real, and it's not sustainable in like TV stuff isn't sustainable for the most part. Like I think of that TV show Friends, where nobody ever seemed to have a job and they always sat in the coffee shop and they had giant apartments in New York City. Like that's not real. So the framework, so it's the Thriving Life Method. And what happens is I take people through this framework, and it spells the word become, because I love acronyms. So we look at these 6 different aspects of you, and it's all about you. So your body, which is the B, your physical health, your E, your emotional health, your C is community, which is your relationships. The O is your occupation. And it doesn't mean a job. It could be a business. It could be a job. It could be, I have a client who's retired. She just calls it her beloved vocation, but it's like something that you do. M is money. So you got to think it is, we live in the 3D world. You have to think about your financial health.
Let's
And then the
let's
last,
let's slow down.
okay.
There is someone right now on a podcast platform and they're like, what is she saying? So let's break it down.
Yeah.
It's the thriving framework. What are the acronyms in there so that we can begin to feel them? Because I feel I'm personally lost. Like, what is the actual
Okay.
acronym that we're trying to fill with these words?
So the Thriving Life Method, the acronym is BECOME.
Become. Okay, so
BECOME.
now I'm writing
Yes, I see you writing. And it's
Mm.
the Thriving Life Method where you become your happiest and healthiest self.
Okay, so then we are trying to fill all these letters. Become, each letter means something, right? All right,
Yes,
so
yes.
now the acronym is
Now we're
become.
there.
And Heather is going to run through each of the letters. And so as she's saying body, then we have to think become. First letter B, second letter
Yes.
E, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go now.
So
Now we're on the same page. Take us
now we're
back to
there.
B. B
I
is
was so
body.
excited. I was going too fast.
It's fine. It's fine. So B is body.
Body, and that's your physical health. So making sure that, and this isn't a runway model kind of thing. It's not, I'm not expecting you to be fit into the societal, this is the perfect body. And I mean, we're all bombarded by media. This is the, are you physically healthy? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough nutrition? It's more the everyday person. Are you physically healthy? E is your emotional health. You know, some people do get depressed. Is it being aware of what affects your emotions? Like if you're someone who gets the seasonal affective disorder, there are things you can do to help yourself. You can get those lights to help you, because the darkness, like you need the light for your system. So recognizing what it is that disrupts your emotional well-being, you know. C is your community, your relationships. So that's the relationships that are close to you, like your spouse and your parents and your children, and then it moves out into, you know, your colleagues, your friends, even to your barista. Like, look at the relationships around you, and are there some that leave you feeling drained, and which ones light you up? And I'm thinking of, like, I have some friends who it took me a little while to navigate, who are, it's almost like a bipolar friendship, who are very exciting to be around, but are draining. So
So what
finding,
is C? Is it children or
it's
become?
community,
Community, which is like your
yeah,
relationships.
which is your relationships.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah. C is your community of who is around you. And sometimes we feel it's powerless. We're like, but I have to, because, you know, I have to be with this person because I said till death do us part. I have to spend time with my, you know, sister, brother, cousin, because we're related. I have to take care of, and this is going to sound harsh to some people. I have to spend time with my mother because she's my mother. But you can have boundaries around those relationships so that you are in a space where it's not draining you, and it's not causing you, you know, to lose your emotional stability or financial stability. I mean, I always hear lots of yeah buts when it comes to relationships, but there are ways to navigate that. And then the O is occupation. So that could be your job. It could be your business if you're a business owner, or it could just be like my partner. He does tons of volunteer work because that's what That's actually what really lights him up. He's so happy doing that. And he chooses to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I alluded to it with one of my clients. She really liked her job, but it was the business, that was the company that she was with that was wrong, and it was draining her. So when she
Mm-hmm.
switched to somewhere that was very supportive and valued her and understood how to best utilize her talents and appreciated it, now she's really happy, right? So sometimes it's not the job itself. For me, it was the job itself. Yeah, I was good at it, but I didn't want to do it all the time. I wanted to do other things. So taking time to recognize, is it the job itself? Is it the environment? Is it the coworkers? That's where all that intertwining comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Then the M is your money. So it's your financial well-being. It's your financial health. I know that I've known people who, because they were unhappy emotionally and they were unhappy in their marriage, they made themselves happy by shopping, but it didn't really make them happy. So that really depleted their financial resources and filled
Mm-hmm.
their house with stuff that they didn't want or need and wasn't making them happy. They were trying to fill their space with things. So, and there's people who live paycheck to paycheck, which is uh it's quite stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole unpacking right there, like people's financial well-being, because I've known people who say, well, I have to keep working because I have to pay for my house in the suburbs, this big house in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And do you, but do you need that big house in the suburbs? Like people get themselves kind of stuck in I have to have this. And that's those societal shoulds, I need to have the big car and I need to have the vacations, and a lot of it comes to us, I feel like, through social media and marketing, although I love marketers, Prima. Uh, and then the last E is engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And engagement is your purpose. Do you feel like you're just biding your time on the planet until you get to leave? Or do you feel like you were here for to achieve something? And it doesn't have to be Hollywood epic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your purpose here is to raise really awesome children. Sometimes your purpose here is to um, be the voice of a community. It doesn't have to be the voice of a nation. You don't have to stand at the UN, but sometimes it's just, sometimes your purpose is I know a lady whose purpose is cat rescue. She rescues the feral cats in the neighborhood, and that she is amazing. And this is what lights her up. And I'm like, okay, awesome. We need someone to take care of the feral cats. You do it. So I worry, like, I don't worry. I am concerned sometimes that people think that their passion, because they always follow your passion, and it feels like it has to be this huge thing, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be that huge thing. It can be like, I get really happy on the days that I talk to clients, and I get really happy on the days that I go to my art studio and paint. And you don't have to have just one passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I I can lose hours at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of, people can call that in the flows. I'll say to my husband when I get home from the painting studio, I'll say, I forgot to eat lunch and I didn't realize at what time it was when I get home at 8 o'clock at night. And he's like, that's fine. You were painting. I know you were in the flow. I was like, yeah, apparently. So anything where you feel light and engaged and happy and excited, all those things. And don't discount any of them. What you can often hear is, but that's too easy. People think it has to be a struggle. That's too easy. Uh, doesn't everybody do that? No, not everybody can do that. I can remember at a time where I was drawing something and somebody said, "Wow, that's amazing." I'm like, anybody can draw a tree. And they said, "No, no, they can't." And it took me a while to go, "Oh, yeah, just because it's easy doesn't
Mm,
mean that it's not valuable."
mm,
Right?
mm,
And it only really needs to be valuable to you for it to light you up. And it doesn't have to be something that makes you an income.
mm,
It can be just something that makes you happy. It's okay to be happy. Someday I'm going to visit Bhutan where they have the National Happiness Quotient, I think it's called, where they actually, their concern is that people are happy. Wouldn't
mm.
that be amazing if we measured that?
No, I don't know. I'm in Uganda, so I don't know. A lot of things are different. A lot of things are different. I do want to take you back though. This thriving framework. If there was to be a point A and a point B, where it takes people from point A to point B, what would that be? The thriving framework. It takes me from where to where. What is the purpose? What is the point A of the person who go through this framework, and what is their point Z, if I can ask like that?
Right. So point A is where you are right now. I
Hmm.
mean, point A is your entry point. Point A
Hmm.
is you thinking, okay, so that kind of makes sense. I know that I'm not completely happy. I know that I want something different, and I have no idea what I want to do. I have no idea even how to start. So that's usually your point A. It's like someone finally says, something's not right. I need to change something. What do I do? Like, what do I do? And you can talk to some people will go talk to their friends. And the thing that happens sometimes, and this happened with me when I did my big changes, is the friendships that you have currently are based on an unwritten agreement that I will be this way and you will be this way.
Hmm.
So when you try to change something, there's resistance. Even if they love you and they want you to be happy and they want to support you, there's this undercurrent of, but you need to be like this and I'm going to be like this. So when you start to change, which happens in marriages too, when one partner starts to change, there's friction and conflict,
Hmm.
unless there's an ability to allow the change. I can remember this like way, way, way back because when they talk about people trying to lose weight,
Hmm.
sometimes the sabotagers are your closest friends. Subconsciously, they're not trying to sabotage you, but they're your closest friends because they want you to stay the way you are. Because if you lose weight and become happy, then they'll have to look at themselves and they don't want to do that. So they want to keep you the way you are. So this is where this person is. They are in this place where crap, I'm not happy. I want to change something. Life is passing. The older I get, the more speed life seems to have to it. And you recognize that you have a limited lifespan and you want to make sure that you don't get to the end of your life with regret. So then we go through the framework. And when we're going through the framework,
Before the
because
framework,
you're,
before the
yeah,
framework, Hisa, I am unhappy.
yeah.
Life is passing me. I feel like I'm existing. I know that the clock is ticking. What else? I want the listener to go, hmm, you know what, Heather? That's me. Or, you know what, Heather? That's my best friend. You know what, Heather? That's kind of my mother. I want the listener to have a hold of someone that they can share this recording with when we're done. So the more we can describe that person, the better for the person who is listening. Because I'm going to ask them to share it, but they need to know who needs to meet Heather. So take us a little bit more into what is happening today in their life. I want them to kind of say, this is not me, but I definitely know who needs to meet you, Hitha. That's kind of the point where we
Well, and
are.
what's interesting is sometimes your friend,
Mm,
you don't know that that's happening with them
mm.
because that person looks like they're holding it all together all the time,
Okay.
right? Because nobody would have known that I was unhappy, that I was discouraged, that I was, feeling um feeling stressed out. This was
Mm,
this was all internal because because I could hold it together like nobody's business, right? I could, and it causes a lot of stress and tension inside of the person. So from the outside, people thought, which was probably why it was so shocking when I did make the changes that I did, because they couldn't tell from the outside that there was anything wrong. They thought, oh, she like I was the go-to person. It's like, oh, Heather can do it because she always gets everything done. Heather can do this. It's always like, you're that go-to person. We need this done. Yeah, no problem. You're the person who's doing everything. You are juggling. I didn't have children, but as an example, you are the person. I can get the kids to hockey and ballet, and I can have dinner ready on the table, and I'm going to do this report to the board of directors so the president looks amazing, and I'm going to have my husband, blah, 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 and I'm going to be looking after my parents. And by the way, I'm also organizing the community bake sale. It's like, this is the person. And I'm just thinking of a client that I have who she's bakes and has 3 kids, and she has a medical practice, and she can do it all. And when I spend an hour with her, I get to hear the things that are stressing her out, because she doesn't have any other outlet for it, right? She needs to hold it she thinks she needs to hold it together for all of these other people, because if she stops, the world will fall apart. So this is the belief. The belief is, if they stop doing everything that they're doing, everything will crash and burn, because everything depends fully on them. They don't usually ask for help.
You know what,
And
these people may look like they have it all together until you're so close to them, until you're their spouse, until you're their child, until you're their best friend. Then they're amazing for a short time, short visit. I see you once a day. But if you're married to them, if you are their child, if you're their best friend, you'll pick it out. So I'm very hopeful that there is someone who is close enough to someone to kind of detect this. They just can't stop. So like, if they stop, the world will stop. They may try to hold it together, but you can feel it if you're close enough. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, you can just feel it.
And when you go out, if you're a best friend and you go out for coffee, you will hear probably some of the struggles, right? Because when you're sitting around with your best friend, you will start to say the things that are stressing you out, but then the person will say, oh, but I'll figure it out. So it's like, you can detect, it's that paying attention aspect. You can detect what's going on if you're listening. If it's very superficial, or it's like, you only spend a few minutes. Hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you? Yeah. Okay. Super. See you next week. Bye. We should do lunch sometime. That's not the kind of conversation. It's the conversations that are, oh, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'll figure it out. Right.
I think I have a
And then usually the friend is like, oh yeah, you're great at figuring that stuff out, because they're not necessarily listening for a struggle. Right. I know you'll be great. It'll be awesome.
I think I have a good idea here, sir. So there is someone who seems to have it all figured out. They want to change, I don't know, take care of everyone. They want to answer to everyone. They have it all together. They're making things happen. They are the superwoman. But if you're close enough, these people have a problem of receiving help. They may always not want to get help. They may put themselves last. They may they never stop.
There was a survey done where they asked women to rank importance. And a lot of women ranked that. So I think their spouse children might have been first, or spouse, and then pets, and they put themselves after all of that. Like, how do you put yourself at the end of importance? You should be first, so that you can go through those different, so if you're first, then you are in a place to go through and help those other people. But in this survey, the women always put themselves last. I thought, oh my gosh, yeah.
So
If you
the person who's
sacrifice your
listening is,
health,
is either this person or they're not. But I think we can still pick up the cues. I wanted to recap kind of where we are and what I've understood so that you can tell me what I'm missing and what needs to be understood differently. It can either be you, it can be a loved one, it can be a spouse, it can be someone you're really close to who you can kind of sniff that, you know what, this person is really always trying to get something done. Next thing, next thing, next thing. Do they ever stop to breathe? Do they ever stop to eat? Do they ever stop to rest? Like, does this person ever stop to take care of themselves? Like, they never stop. And what I understood is Heather takes you through a framework called the becoming framework, where the first thing is the body. How are we feeling physically? Are we exercising? Are we feeling good in our body? Is our body in the right place? Or are we stressing and about to get into some chronic condition? Second thing is like you check your emotional health. How are things up? Like what's happening emotionally? You know, how are you feeling emotionally? You know, how is that? I would imagine that nervous system regulation happening for you. Are you spiking? Are you regulating? Are you crashing? What is happening for you? Do you feel like you're an emotional roller coaster? If that is happening, then I think she does work there to help you stabilize or regulate. C is the community, your friends, your children, your loved ones. Are you keeping some people around because you think you have to? What I pick from Heather is like, have to is a word that needs to be checked. Like, you don't have to do anything. If you want to, that's a different, you know. But if you have to, if you feel like you have to do things, according to Heather, that's something that could be challenged because you don't have to do anything really. If you have to do something, it's probably costing you something that you don't want to give up. Or in becoming is occupation, which is your career, there's need to sit and kind of analyze what's happening. Is what you're doing the thing you want to be doing? Is the job you have the job that you need to be having? Is it a good place to work? Are the people supporting, or are you at a job because of the paycheck and you really just dread it, or the people are just horrible, or are you putting up with your job, or do you really love it? Do you feel like you're making a difference in the world? That's a decision, like that's a choice, that's an analysis you have to do. Some people are in places because they think they have to be, otherwise their children won't eat. But if you sit on the side, really, there's probably many people who would appreciate your skills and that would be willing to treat you much better. We're on Become, and the next acronym is M, which is money, financial health, making of the money, holding of the money, spending the money or budgeting the money, or I don't know, growing the money, whatever that is. Like, do you feel like money-wise, you and money have a good relationship? Can you receive it or not? Can you keep it or not? Can you grow it or not? Can you spend it wisely or not? You either have a relationship with money that is good or bad, or you have a relationship with money. I think it's just a matter of sitting down to say, like, what is my relationship with money and do I want to improve it? Do I want to redefine it? And the E is the engagement, which is more like the purpose. Do you feel like you're doing your soul work? Or do you feel like you're just existing? You're surviving. You're just there, a number in the world? Or do you feel like you're rescuing the cats? Because that's the thing that fires you up. Are you doing your life? Or are you just waiting? You know, like the clock is ticking. Like, have you actually done something that lights your heart up? That's where we are. And off of this, I believe this is the framework that she takes people to move them from this world of I was born like this and society told me to do this and I don't know how I got here. Like, you know what? I'm super unhappy. I seem to be doing everything for everyone. I'm existing. I do not know. Where did my life go? How did I get here? I seem to have everyone in my life that I don't even need to have in my life. I seem to be taking care of everybody else but me. I do not know. I feel like I am just moving through the motions. If you're in that place, or if you know someone that looks like they're always trying to save everybody else, but when you look at them, you feel like, do they really have a mask on? It's like you're on the plane You're trying to save everybody else, but you don't have the gadget to protect yourself. If we scan someone like that, if we are close enough, if we are married to them, if we are their best friends, or if we just close enough for them to share, then that's the work that Heather does. Taking them from that place to the thriving life, to the life they actually want. That is where I am. Heather, what did I miss, and what should we add on for people that is super important that I seem to have missed it as I was going? Or what did I get wrong? Because sometimes I do get things wrong.
You did great, actually. You didn't miss anything. I mean, all of that is perfect. And that is what I take people through, and I take them through in a way that is not going to just cause more stress because they're already in that place of stress. So you take people through it. So it's only like, yes, it can feel like when I did mine, it would feel like everything is wrong and I throw it all out. You don't have to do that. You just pick one thing to shift and change. And you start to, by picking one thing, it's almost like when you unravel something, you just got to find that one string to pull, and it'll start to let the rest of it unravel, or the cornerstone that holds everything together. So you pick one thing to start, and then you begin. And then there's going to be up days and down days. So it's like supporting them through that. And then when that starts to integrate and come into place, you pick something else. You reevaluate and say, okay, now let's start working on this, so that it starts. Sometimes it's fast. Like sometimes you change one thing and the whole thing just like dominoes, boom, 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 boom. Sometimes you change one thing and it shifts, and you change something else and it shifts. So supporting them through all of that, because it can be stressful to go through. It can be scary to change something in your life. It can be scary because you don't know what's going to happen. So just supporting them through anything that's going on and helping them see clearly where the next thing is. What's the next thing? How to really have a happy life. I mean, my life now is so awesome. Like I said, I probably wouldn't change anything. Maybe I would have won the lottery, but that's not something in my control.
So Heather works with the people who've lived life. So you're probably in your midlife. You've lived for the last 40, 45, 50. You know pretty well how it's gone down. You know what you've done. You know what you haven't done. You know what dreams you had when you were 15 or 18 or 20 or 25. You know how well that has turned out. Maybe you've done them, maybe you haven't. And what she says is you don't have to go through life. You don't have to go through life like that. The first 50 or 45 years, okay, they went how they went. But you can decide what happens in the next 15 or 30 or 40 or 50. It's all in your pocket. You can decide, I want a different life, and you can. You can decide, you know what, I'm really done living society expectations and trying to fit in and trying to be like everybody else and trying to keep with people who don't serve me, and I want a different life. And she's saying, you might need to make some pivots. You might need to let some people go, some things go. You might need to make some hard decisions, but it's all in your hands. And she's here, like, the way I think Heather is, I think she's like someone to hold space for you. Someone that has been there. Heather, you like to say that you're a real life coach, which I interpret as you've taken all of your schools from the hard knocks, like from the school of hard knocks, and you're helping people go through that. But what do you mean when you say I am a real life coach? What do you mean by that?
That came about because I was coaching this gentleman one day. And I mean, I coach mostly women, but I was coaching this gentleman and I was helping him make some changes. And I said, well, let's just start with this. And he said, really? That's all? I said, yes. And apparently he had worked with another coach who would give him a huge list of things So he didn't do any of them
Mm.
because it was too overwhelming. He's like, I can't do all that. So he didn't do anything. I said, well, the solutions that we come up with, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but the solutions have to be able to be something that you can manage in your current life, your real life. So I always recognize that people are living in their own reality, their real life, and it, whatever it is, it needs to be able to be manageable and help to create a new reality, but not be so overwhelming that they don't do anything. I mean, I can remember one day I went to the doctor, and this is a normal thing. You know, I went to the doctor and she said, well, you have to lose weight. Okay, bye. I'm like, okay, that's a big, tall order. I don't, at that time, it's like, I don't know where to begin. Who do I call? What do I do? What's wrong with my current diet? It was too much for me to, I didn't know what to do. So I didn't do anything at that time. You have to help people with where they are because they don't necessarily have the knowledge and background to support themselves and make those decisions. So real life is real life, and everybody's in a different spot. So I meet them where they are. And then we go from there.
I really like that because there's a lot of information out there. But really, we live in a world where things are practical, where things either work or don't, and people just don't know what they don't know. There's so much information in the world. And it's not that people don't have information, people just can't get themselves to do the work. And so, what you can do is help them with those bits and chunks of step one, step two. I like to tell most people who are in the mentorship world that, or consulting or coaching world, that if it was as easy as you think it is, you wouldn't have a career. No one would pay you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, people are paying you to tell them something they can't do to help them implement that thing. And I find that some of my clients are always frustrated. Like, why can't they figure it out? I'm like, yeah, but if they could figure it out, what would they pay? And so I like that you really meet people where they're at, because people are where they're at because of the habits, the paradigms, the beliefs that they have. And there's no better work than appreciating where people are at and meeting them where they're at with the simple, sizable bits of steps to take. I like
And not
work.
judging them too, right? Like not judging people where they are because you don't know the story of how they got where they are. So so I see myself as let's not like I'm not going to judge you where you are. I'm going to come and meet you there because I've had a whole history behind me. Let's just go to where you are, see where it is you would rather be, and let's figure out a good way to get there that won't cause you more stress. It'll just start to unfold the path for you.
I love it, Heather. I love it. So this become framework. Is that what you take people through when they work with you? Tell us more about working with you and what that looks like.
Yes. So it's very individual, unless they're in a group program, but one-on-one, it's very individual. It's figuring out where you are in that like beginning phase. And I do use the Become framework to help us get just a clear, easy to understand picture of where you are. So we do a quick evaluation, and that helps us know possibly where to start. So we kind of do a quick evaluation of where you are on each parameter, and then we decide where to begin. So we give it a score of like 1 to 10, and 10 is, perfect. I don't think anybody in the world is perfect. And I don't think that it's necessarily something to strive for. But we look at whatever the lowest score is, and maybe your lowest score is, community. But that might not be where you want to start. So just because it's your lowest score, it doesn't mean you have to start with that one. Some people like to say, well, yes, my community is my relationship score is low, but I feel like if I start on, say, physical health first, that it will start to improve. It'll cascade through the others because they're all interconnected. So we work together to decide where to start, and then what is the thing that we will begin to start to improve that aspect of your life. And I mean, we can make plans, we can throw in lots of ideas, but really we just commit to one, maybe two things to start. And as you're going through it, periodically you reevaluate. So we start to keep track of what's shifting, what's changing, how are we doing? Is that change sticking? Is it not sticking? Was it the wrong thing? Maybe we should have started with something else. Because every person is an experimental one, I say, every person's going to process and think about and experience things differently. So we keep track of how it's shifting. And then as things start to shift, sometimes they really pick up speed. So we throw in some more things to see how we can accelerate it, or if things are happening too fast and the person's feeling overwhelmed, because sometimes change is really overwhelming, even when it's good change. Do we need to find a way to breathe and stabilize and be okay and recognize that all of this is good? So, and I have other tools, like I have things to help you vision forward, vision backwards, do future life visioning, but it always starts with the framework to decide where to start and it's driven by the client. They're driving this bus. I'm in the seat next to them, helping them stay on track.
I like it. I like that you have this evaluation, because someone can ask you, where do you want to go? Where are you? Like, you don't even know where you are. Like, I like
Right?
how real this is, because this is like the practical, in the wild, in the weeds type of analysis. Because if you were to ask me, where are you now? I don't know. Like, what do you mean, where am I? Like, what are we using to measure my happiness or the lack of it? When somebody says, well,
Right.
are you happy? Then I'm like, what's the measuring stick? Like, I don't know how you're measuring happiness. And so when you say, we look at your body physically, what's happening? How are you feeling around about that? Are you in your best, body, whatever? Let's look at your emotional health. What's going on with that nervous system? How are you reacting to things, Let's talk about your community, your friends, everyone in your life. How are things feeling there? Are there some have tos, Are there situations where you are because you think you have to be there? Let's talk about your career, the job. How do you feel about that? Let's look at your money, the relationship you have with money. Is everything going okay? How do you have what you desire money-wise? Let's talk about your purpose. Do you feel like you're on fire right now? That can be a very good place to know, like, oh, so I think that my emotional health or my engagement with, I don't know, my purpose, or I know I have all these problems, but I think if I fix the money, I might see changes here and there. I like how you say, because everything is interconnected, and sometimes fixing one thing jumpstarts everything. So it's a job of knowing where do we practically start to kind of keep moving to see how we can turn things around. I like this framework, Heather. So how long is the program?
So when I do a group program, it's 8 weeks, but that's like your introduction. And so there's, at the end of the 8 weeks, there's ongoing group coaching to support you through the process. When I do it one-on-one, it can take 3 months at least, usually, to make a change. But I've had people who, everybody's individual on how their change happens. So I always tell people, give yourself at least 3 months, because how long do habits take to alter? We know how long it takes to change things and to really train it. And in that first 3 months, people, when they start making changes, feel that instability, they feel uncertain. So it takes 3 months to really feel like, okay. And then sometimes people will stay because they're like, okay, now I want to change this. Now I want to change this. Now I want to change this. And they can just see the value of having someone there to help them continuing. And at some point they will feel like there is an end point and they're like, okay, I'm good. But the first one is, I always recommend 3 months to get going.
I love this work. I think I love it on a one-on-one concept because that really gives you the time to sit in your life and, you know, take it where you want it to go. Of course, it depends, I think, on people's levels of investment and where they are at. And so I believe you can begin with wherever you're at financially and what you can afford. And I'd imagine the best way to move forward from here is what is the best way for people to move forward if they're kind of, you know what, Heath, I actually want to have that conversation with you to see like where I'm at and, you know, how to get involved with your work. What should they do?
So I always offer a free curiosity call. I call it a curiosity call where they book an appointment with me on Zoom or phone because some people don't like Zoom. And we have a conversation about where you are and what you're trying to have. And it's 30 minutes to really get a sense of, do they feel aligned with what I'm asking them and how they're like energetically. And it's like it's a little get to know you call. And if I think they need something else, I'll tell them. I mean, I have a big network of people that I know that I've worked with, that I know personally, that I've met. And I always offer, yes, I think this can help you, and I'll tell them why. Or I think this is where you need to start, and I will send them to another expert if I think they need something else.
I love it. So book a call with Heather. There'll be a link in the show notes. We'll definitely link Heather's website, social media, everything that, you know, can be an avenue to contact her. But the best way, I think, is going to be the curiosity call. Book a curiosity call, you know, see where you're at and if Heather is the right person for you. And what I found on these calls is there's people who come to me and they think I can help them. And I go, no, I think you need Heather. You know, I don't solve everything. My thing is more like helping people get their message in front of an audience, helping them extrapolate their message, helping them communicate their message, helping them position as like a legacy brand. I don't do a lot of things that experts do. And so sometimes people come to me and I'm like, but I think your problem is, you know, a problem X can solve. And so one of these things, I like people jumping on these calls because you never know, you know, you never know who Heather knows. There's a lady who came to me the other day and she said, Prima, you know, I'm not a coach, but I saw you were helping Best Kept Secrets and I wanted to pop in. And I had a first degree connection to the only person she needed to change her business. And she was like, I just don't know what would happen. So I just show up. And it was like, so book the call. It's a curiosity call. Book the call. I think the first step to change your life is to be curious about actually changing your life. So book a call with Heather, see what she has going. And if it's for you, amazing. If it's not for you, amazing. Like, it's no, you know, you don't have to buy anything really. And hope that really helps you out. And if you're watching still with us, I really want to celebrate you and appreciate you for your time. Again, I understand that you could have been doing a million things with your time, but you chose to be here. And so I take a moment to celebrate you, to honor you, and to really tell you that I appreciate the gift of your attention. If Heather's work has touched your heart and you know someone who definitely needs it or you need it, book a call. But if you know a close friend, a spouse, a best friend, someone close to you that you think needs this work, just share this with them. Share this episode with them and let them watch it. I believe we can do many things, amazing things, if we work together. And for you to spread Heather's message, the only thing you have to do is share it with just one person. Don't share it on your social media. Don't share it on your story. Just one person, a private message to just one person that you think needs to meet Heather. We're building a community here, and I would love for you to be a part of it. The words Best Kept Secret is a community. We're bringing experts from all over the world with amazing work, with life-changing work that majority of the people don't know about. And for you to be a part, please subscribe, I don't know where you're at, if you're on a podcast platform or YouTube, subscribe. That really goes a long way in helping the community grow. Please rate and review and follow if you're on a platform that asks you to follow. But rate, review, and let the world know what has changed your life, what is changing your life. I believe the more of those things you do, the bigger the community grows. The bigger the community grows, the more things I can do. The bigger the game I can play, the bigger the guests I can bring on. So if you've ever wanted someone on the show like Tony Robbins needs a reason to be here. And so if we grow this to 10 million people, Tony Robbins will be happy to come and speak. And so the more you're involved, my friend, the bigger the game we can play. I have a very big vision. It doesn't even fit in my head at this point. But I believe that you and I can make this happen. So I appreciate you, and I'll see you yet in another episode in the future. Heath, do you want to close us out with anything whatsoever?
You deserve to be happy. Don't believe anyone who tells you anything different, and take that first step to understand yourself and what you need.
I think I'll end with this. You may have run through your first 50 years or 40 years of your life. Your life might have happened to you in that time, but now you know better. Your next 40, 50, 30, 20 years don't have to be the same. Everything is in your pocket, as Heather said, and it takes you to take the first step. And hopefully today we gave you permission to do that. As always, my friend, do the right things. Rate, subscribe, review, share this episode with one person. Let's take this community to a whole new level, because I know that we can. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you very soon. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.